invaded the sovereign nation of Ukraine.
China's Xi Jinping arrived in Moscow within the past hour. It's been 3 days in Russia to meet with President Vladimir Putin. Pentagon spokesman saying today that a Russian fighter jet struck the propeller of a U.S. surveillance drone in international airspace.
More than 17 Chinese military aircraft have entered Taiwanese airspace over the last 24 hours.
President Biden, in one of his most definitive statements to date, moments ago making it clear, United States aid will continue to pour into Ukraine.
This assistance would provide even more artillery, armored vehicles, anti-armored systems, anti-air capabilities that have been used so effectively thus far on the battlefield by the Ukrainian warriors.
Today, the United States downed a suspected Chinese spy balloon that's been floating across the country for days.
Are you ready for World War III? The chairman of NATO's military committee says the U.S., Canadian, and European alliance is ready for a direct fight with Russia.
We're at the brink of World War III, just in case anybody doesn't know it.
And this has been an incredibly sharp wake-up call. This has been a slap to the face around the West. And what it's saying is, you ain't as safe as you think you are.
They would start a video, then there's gonna be a server shutdown in like literally 5 minutes. Like, I need to find a battery. Car battery.
Vladimir Putin has just addressed the Russian people moments ago, announcing what Putin called the start of a military special operation, in his words, to demilitarize Ukraine.
Ukraine, the country that has been at the center of attention for the last year, after Russian leader Vladimir Putin ordered an all-out invasion on the nation's borders.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам и нацизму со стороны киевского режима.
But the country is no stranger to conflict with Russia, as modern tensions date back as far as 1991, when the Republic gained independence from the Soviet Union.
We're here at the right time.
Since then, the two countries have had a number of smaller conflicts, but nothing compared to what we're seeing today. Putin wants to turn back the clocks to the days of the USSR, and reclaiming Ukraine is a key part in doing that.
It is a fight for the existence of the Russian state itself, because our adversaries, as I used to call them partners, they have one task, and we became convinced of this in previous decades, to rock the boat, shatter Russia into pieces. So for us, this is not a geopolitical task, but the task of the survival of Russian statehood.
But the question is, why did Putin decide now was the best time to invade Ukraine? And how does this regional conflict have the potential to spill over into a global one?
I want to mix this ammo, but I can't because we're gonna have a system shutdown soon.
To understand why Putin invaded Ukraine, we have to go back to 1949, when these countries, including the United States and Canada, formed what is known today as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
If there is anything inevitable in the future, it is the will of the people of the world for freedom and for peace.
Fast forward to 1955, when these countries joined the Soviet-led Warsaw Pact. Europe would stay this way for decades, with both sides growing their military strength,
2 minutes.
until one side collapsed.
Again, our top story. Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev has been removed from power, and there are tanks now in the streets of Moscow.
The nuclear threat, while far from gone, is receding. Eastern Europe is free.
The Soviet Union itself is no more.
After the fall of the Soviet Union, the region disbanded into 15 independent countries, with republics like Ukraine overthrowing their government. On the other side of Europe, NATO was still going strong.
Yep, there it
And
is.
with the fall of the USSR, they saw it as a prime opportunity to not only maintain their reach,
Shit, I'm
but
holding a
expand
mag.
it.
That means it's...
In 1999, Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic joined the organization. And in 2004,
Server
7
had
more
3 people
countries
in it.
joined along with them.
Today,
So great.
The 2.9% APR plus $1,500 purchase allowance on the 2024 XT5 and XT6 being financed through Cadillac Financial.
We proudly welcome Bulgaria,
Doesn't take long.
Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia. We welcome them into the ranks of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
With this expansion eastward, NATO had begun to stretch into territory that had been held by the Soviets for decades. Belarus, Ukraine, and Georgia were now the only remaining countries dividing Russia and NATO. While Belarus wanted to maintain their connection with Russia, Ukraine and Georgia had hopes of joining NATO. Ukraine officially became a partner of NATO in 1994, inching them closer to becoming a member. Fast forward to 2013, and Ukraine had reached an agreement to become a member of the EU. But shortly after, the country decided to back out of the agreement.
And European Union leaders and Ukraine have, as expected, failed to sign an historic free trade deal after a last-minute U-turn from Kiev. Ukraine's President Viktor Yanukovych still attended the Eastern Partnership Summit in Vilnius, but under economic pressure from Moscow, he's revived trade talks with Russia, and nothing the EU said could make him change his mind.
The people of Ukraine were not happy with this decision, as protests began to break out across the country.
There we go.
President Putin was beginning to realize
Player number
that the
1.
influence Russia had over the region was shrinking.
Let's
So
hope we get a
he
reload.
decided to use force in its place.
But don't lose our
As we
stuff.
turn tonight to the tension rising around the world as Russian President Vladimir Putin casts his shadow across the boundary of Europe and Russia. Tonight, his troops are holding firm in a corner of Ukraine known as Crimea.
First, in 2014, Putin decided to annex the Crimean Peninsula.
Alright, let's do this.
Next, Russian-backed separatists gained control of the Luhansk and Donetsk regions.
The Ukrainians have tried to push forward a couple of times but have failed, this fighter says. But it's not like in 2014 when we were rebels. Now we are an army.
Putin continued to control these regions, destabilizing the country and sabotaging a relationship with NATO. Until the beginning of 2021, when Putin wanted more.
He calls them peacekeepers. This is nonsense. We know what they really are.
Satellite images taken in March and April of 2021 identified a buildup of thousands of troops near the Ukrainian border. Troops were partially withdrawn in June of 2021, though, after alarms of a possible Russian invasion. But later in October, Russian forces returned. But this time, something was different.
Russia has for weeks been massing troops and tanks along the Ukrainian border, prompting Ukraine, Poland and Lithuania to call for more Western sanctions against it in fear of an invasion. A joint statement by the countries today accused Russia of continuing aggression and urged NATO to act.
Armor, missiles, and heavy weaponry were starting to amass on the border of the two countries. And by December, over 100,000 Russian troops had been identified. Imagery showed troops in Belarus from the north Crimea from the south, as well as in the Luhansk and Donetsk regions to the east.
Well, we don't believe that President Putin has made a final decision to use these forces against Ukraine. He clearly now has that capability. And there are multiple options available to him, including the seizure of cities and significant territories, but also coercive acts or provocative political acts like the recognition of breakaway territories.
Putin repeatedly denied any plans to invade the country. A few weeks later, though, he issued his demands.
Мы слышим, что Украина не готова сегодня к вступлению в НАТО. Мы знаем этот тезис. И тут же говорят, что ее завтра не примут. А примут тогда, когда ее подготовят к этому. Но для нас это может быть уже поздно. Поэтому мы хотим решить этот вопрос сейчас.
His main request was for NATO to push back their influence, moving their borders to where they were pre-1999. Western leaders refused, and instead reinforced the region with thousands of troops, sending a strong message that NATO wasn't going anywhere. With tensions continuing to rise, the day that the two countries would collide seemed almost inevitable. The only question was when. That day was February 24th, 2022.
Good morning from the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. Gunfire and explosions have been heard here and in the second city of Kharkiv shortly after the Russian President Vladimir Putin authorized a special military operation in Ukraine's Donbass region and told the Ukrainian military to lay down their weapons and go home.
US President Joe Biden has condemned the attack as unjustified and unprovoked. In Germany, Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has just said if the world does not respond, it will pay an even higher price.
World leaders were quick to denounce the Russian invasion.
And once again in the center of Europe, innocent women, men and children are dying or fear for their lives. We condemn this barbaric attack and the cynical arguments to justify it. It is President Putin who is bringing war back to Europe.
For weeks, we have been warning that this would happen. And now, it's unfolding largely as we predicted.
Since that day, things haven't gone exactly to plan. While Russia has made advances within the country, it has come at a cost, with reports estimating that over 200,000 Russian troops have either been killed or injured as of early 2023. And while the war isn't going as expected, it isn't because Ukraine's military is that much better, but rather because of the help of foreign nations. The US alone has spent a whopping $46.6 billion on the war so far.
Last week, I signed an $800 million package of security assistance to Ukraine. Today, I'm announcing that the United States will be sending 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine. Together, we've committed nearly 700 tanks.
If you feel distant from the Lord, it's probably because you haven't been reading Bible. But
maybe.
And thousands of armored vehicles, 1,000 artillery systems, more than 2 million rounds of artillery ammunition.
With Ukraine getting support from all around the world, many believe that Putin is starting to feel the pressure. Just this year, Norwegian intelligence spotted Russian-armed nuclear vessels in the Baltic Sea, something that hasn't happened in over 30 years. And later that same month, President Putin suspended the only remaining nuclear treaty between Russia and the United States. And so with these developments, the world is treading lightly, as Russia still holds the world's largest nuclear arsenal. What's more is that President Putin has warned other countries of what could happen if they get involved.
If anyone from the outside intends to interfere in what's happening, then they should know this. If they create threats for us, threats of a strategic nature, our retaliation, our counterstrike, will be instantaneous.
And with the recent announcements that Ukraine will join NATO, it seems as though Eastern Europe is on the brink of a global war.
NATO allies have agreed that Ukraine will become a member of our alliance, but at the same time, that is a long-term perspective. What is the issue now is to ensure that Ukraine prevail as a sovereign independent nation.
And while everyone has their eyes set on Ukraine, it isn't the only place that could start a world war.
I don't really need anything, but maybe we might find some testosterone, which we can always use.
Here in Beijing, the city is bustling. It's a symbol of the immense growth that the country has seen over the past few decades. But behind all of this lies something darker. As the capital of China, the city is at the center of a government that has been in a long-standing dispute with its next-door neighbor, Taiwan.
This morning we look at the worry in Taiwan that China will attack it someday at a tense time for that whole region. A U.S. warship yesterday sailed through the Taiwan Strait, separating the island from China, a narrow body of water there, and it followed days of Chinese military drills around Taiwan.
The tensions between the two countries are rooted in a complex history, dating back as far as the 1600s. But to understand what's going on today, we only have to look back as far as 1992. During the time, the two countries were seeking to formulate a framework that would resolve what they both considered to be an irresolvable conflict. Leaders of both countries met in Hong Kong, where they were to discuss what was known today as the 1992 Consensus. The main premise behind this was for both sides to combine into what was described as One China. To this day, though, the One China policy is still a top issue between the two countries. China's interpretation of the One China policy is that Taiwan is a part of China. They consider the country to be a breakaway province and will eventually be reunited with the mainland.
我们坚持以最大诚意，尽最大努力，争取和平统一的前提，但绝不承诺放弃使命，保留采取一切必要措施的选项。
On the other hand, from Taiwan's perspective, they maintain the view that they are a sovereign state and wish to be recognized as such.
We will continue to bolster our national defense and demonstrate our determination to defend ourselves in order to ensure that nobody can force Taiwan to take the path China has laid out for us. A path that offers neither a free and democratic way of life for Taiwan.
And while tensions between the two countries have always been high, things have escalated to a new level since the leadership takeover of Xi Jinping in 2013.
Clapping is the most annoying thing. I hate clapping.
President Xi is known for his strong leadership style and his efforts to consolidate power within the Chinese Communist Party. He has also been more assertive in China's foreign policy, including its approach to Taiwan.
祖国完全统一的历史任务一定要实现，也一定能够实现。
China has a long and rich history, and its leaders have often sought to leave their mark on the country. Xi Jinping is no exception.
Mr. Xi's name and his political thought have been written into the very document that modern China is built upon. It's unclear, though, what this means for the country, but there is no doubt it allows Xi Jinping to tighten his grip on power.
He desires most to be China's greatest leader. And in order to achieve this goal, he has to do something that no leader before him has been able to accomplish. Connecting the sovereign nation of Taiwan back to the mainland.
也绝不允许任何外来势力欺负、压迫、奴役我们。谁放下
Swear to God, I
战
the worst
争，
fucking old ladies and priests. They're the
将
hardest
在
people to
中
kill.
国人民用血肉
Jesus Christ.
铸成的钢铁长城面前，碰得头破血流。
I agree with him.
Under the leadership of President Xi, China has made significant strides in modernizing its military and expanding its capabilities. The country has become increasingly assertive on the world stage, and its military buildup has been a key part in this trend. Even as recent as 2020, amassing the world's largest navy, leading many experts to believe that a Chinese takeover of the island may be closer than we think.
Officials, academic experts, the refrain you hear a lot is that it's not a matter of if but when the Chinese military will try and move on to Taiwan. What do you think?
I think I would agree with some of the analysis. It might be 2025, 2027, or 2035, and etc. There's some merit to those analyses. But from our perspective, we should not wait for those years to come. We should be prepared, and we're trying to get prepared.
In the event of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, regional powers would likely respond in different ways. Japan, which has already expressed concern about China's military buildup, could choose to bolster its own defenses and increase its military cooperation with the United States. India, which has its own border dispute with China, could view a Chinese invasion of Taiwan as a threat to its own security. On the other hand, the United States has long maintained a secure relationship with Taiwan, providing them with the majority of their military equipment and training. In the event of a Chinese invasion, the United States would face a difficult choice between defending Taiwan and risking a direct conflict with China. Although President Joe Biden has already stated that the U.S. would get involved if China did actually invade.
We're not encouraging their being independent. That's their decision.
But would U.S. forces defend the island?
Yes, if in fact there was an unprecedented attack.
The U.S. could also seek to rally support from its allies in the region, as well as the support of NATO. On the other side of the conflict, China could call on countries like Russia to get involved, as relations between the two countries have only been increasing in the last decade.
To Russia tonight, China's President Xi arriving for a 3-day summit in Moscow with his so-called peace plan. This is the first visit since Russia invaded Ukraine. The images tonight, you can see Xi given the red carpet treatment, serenaded by a military band in Russia. Vladimir Putin welcoming his, quote, dear friend in the Kremlin.
Inevitably, North Korea would get involved, as the country relies on more than 90% of its total trade volume to come from China. Both Iran and Pakistan could get involved as well, as both these countries have a history of supporting China's territorial claims. And so with an invasion on the island, not out of the realm of possibilities, World War III beginning in Asia seems more real than ever before. However, in another place, internal conflicts are what could be brewing a possible global war.
I'm like right in the gas zone. I should be getting my shit and getting out of here. I don't know what I'm doing. I just don't want to ruin my gear.
The United States, a land that was once a beacon of democracy and stability, but now it finds itself in the middle of a political and social dilemma.
We'll come back.
The country is more divided than ever, with deep-seated internal conflicts threatening to tear the fabric of society apart. But could these conflicts escalate to a point where they could bring about a world war? In recent years, the United country. A curfew took effect at 5 p.m. tonight. It is in effect until 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. Seattle police are now blocking all traffic coming into the city.
This is just a snapshot of some of the damage that people will be waking up to in Soho. Through the night, protesters smashed into luxury stores, stealing items and clashing with police.
Yeah, definitely, Bonnie. This weekend actually marked 100 days of protests in the city of Portland. While Saturday featured some peaceful events during the day, police ended up declaring a riot that night.
And I want to show our viewers that picture, what's going on in the well of the Senate. Look at this, John King. You and I have covered Capitol Hill for a long time.
Oh, there's so much NCS gear, which is good.
On the Senate floor, where normally the president of the Senate, which happened to be the vice president just a little while ago, a protester is sitting there in the well of the U.S. Senate. John.
These divisions have only deepened in recent times. With the recent pandemic and the contentious 2020 presidential election.
Votes for President of the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes.
Political polarization has become a defining characteristic of American society. The two major political parties are increasingly at odds, with each side viewing the other as an existential threat.
Macron told Politico that Europe shouldn't be a follower of the US, and he spoke about the great risk for Europe getting caught up in crises that are not theirs, preventing it from building strategic autonomy.
The rest of the world is watching closely. America's allies are increasingly concerned about the country's stability, while its enemies are looking for opportunities to exploit its weaknesses.
If the United States does not hit the brake but continue to speed down the wrong path, no amount of guardrails can prevent derailing, and there will surely be conflict and confrontation.
Russia and China are among the countries that are keeping a watchful eye. A weakened America could provide a prime opportunity for these nations to take advantage and pursue their own agendas.
We're definitely weak.
Curious about America?
Ooh.
More than simply another nation that you have to deal with. Ну, конечно, нам интересно. Of course we're curious about what's going on. America exerts enormous influence on the situation in the world as a whole.
Meanwhile, America's allies are anxiously monitoring the situation, aware of the potential fallout that could result from any internal instability.
China is standing with Russia, with Iran, and then with other smaller countries, North Korea, Cuba, to offer a world order that it sees as an alternative to an order that is, sort of defined by and manipulated by the United States.
China is rapidly expanding its economic and military power, while Russia is using its military might and political influence to push back against the U.S. And with recent talks of the BRICS alliance, the threat to the U.S. is at an all-time high.
But now the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa have announced plans to develop a new currency. Their goal is to reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar and other Western currencies as well, and protect themselves from international pressure.
This growing alliance has alarmed many in the U.S. intelligence community, who see it as a potential threat to American security and interests.
It's been about 30 years since there was another superpower on the earth that was in conflict with the United States, and we are back in that place.
The global power dynamics are shifting, and the U.S. is facing a formidable challenge.
There's an entire NCS outfit here. Oh,
the future of
that is so tempting. I need to get space. I need that battery in that car.
But a world war fueled by internal conflict would be an entirely new and unprecedented situation, something the world has never seen before.
I wonder if let's just try to do this real quick. Alright, boots. Jacket.
While it may be tempting to dismiss the possibility of a world war, the dangers we face today pure intentions is immune to the devastating consequences of a global conflict. The specter of a world war is not an abstract notion that affects only those in power, though. It's a terrifying possibility that would have devastating consequences for people around the globe. The sad truth is that the human cost of war is often overlooked or blatantly ignored, as policymakers and leaders focus on the strategic and economic implications of conflict rather than the people involved. But it's the ordinary citizens who pay the highest price, as they struggle to survive in the midst of the violence and chaos. As we confront the challenges of our modern world, it's essential that we remember the true cost of conflict
See, I almost had the entire outfit. It's crazy.
by recognizing the humanity of those affected by war and committing ourselves to finding solutions. We can help ensure a more just and equitable world for generations to come. As for now, no one knows just exactly what the future holds. The world waits to see what happens next, hoping for a peaceful resolution to these regional conflicts, as the world depends on it.
If I can hide this bag somewhere. No, I need this in my, like... Shit. What else vitamins I have? Whew. That's a lot. Where's the saline? Saline, saline. I know I have some. Lying around somewhere. There it is. Do you hear that? We gotta get out of here. Oh, there it is. The jacket. That's nuts. Oh, there was already a jacket in there. Pants are what I need. We'll hide it over here. No one ever looks in here. Alright. Let's get out of here. I've found batteries in here before. Generators, batteries. One gun. I have a 308 back. Pristine. I hear someone. Fuck. We gotta get out of here. Gotta get back to my car. Need to find a battery. And we'll be out of here.
If you had a choice, would you rather pay $12 for this cheese grater on Amazon or pay less than $2 on Alibaba for the exact same thing? Well, believe it or not, over 16,000 people paid $12 for this product on Amazon last month.
Cool, good
This war was sold to the American people based on falsehoods and lies. The sales campaign that took place
Wow.
as aggressive deception. Well, I wouldn't rule out manipulation. This was fraud, and I can't say that often enough. No mistake, fraud.
September 11th. In the ruins of New York, America vows to defeat terrorism. His promise is quickly betrayed. George Bush changed his enemies.
Come on, I'm stuck.
Is replaced by Saddam Hussein. This about-face is proof of an extraordinary manipulation.
Can't fucking shoot. That was the
consequences for
shittiest thing, man. Jesus. Beat the rocks off me.
Everything begins less than 6 hours after the attack. At the Pentagon, which was also struck, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld scans the rubble and issues his instructions. Stephen Cambone, one of his advisors, takes notes. Rumsfeld's intentions are unequivocal. The evening of that tragic day, President Bush addresses America and the world.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life,
Guy nearly destroyed my
our
outfit.
very freedom came under attack. We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbored them.
This essential detail was inspired by a key figure in this adventure, Richard Pearl. On the afternoon of 9/11, the Pentagon advisor places a call to the president's speechwriter.
I was on the telephone with David Frum, and I said to David,
Where are you from,
on the
David
afternoon
Frum?
of 9/11, whatever else the president says, he should say that we will hold responsible the states that support terrorism.
It is a strategic break from the more modest policies of Bush's predecessors.
I believe it represented a recognition that we would never succeed against the terrorists if we went after them one at a time, and as long as governments were facilitating the organization, training, equipping, financing of terrorist organizations, we were under control.
An ambitious program
I
for
feel like I
all-out
killed that
war.
guy already.
The stated goal of a group to which Richard Pearl belongs, the neoconservatives. Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Condoleezza Rice, Paul Wolfowitz, Douglas Feith. These are the advisors who have Bush's ear. Joe Wilson, a career diplomat, witnessed their rise.
They came into office with the Republican Party, and in particular with
Yes.
the staffing
Need
done
that
by
bad.
the Vice President in his office
10 is
and the
huge.
Secretary of Defense in his office.
Crap.
The neoconservatives, they have ties to the world of oil, to the defense industry. They are ideologues,
Need that
champions of
bad.
American hegemony in the world. Saddam Hussein, an unpredictable provocateur, is their bête noire.
On the evening of 9/11, the
president saying, well, maybe, we'll be going after Iraq now. And somebody said, well, that would be against international law. The president responded, I don't care, we're going to kick some ass.
2 days after the World Trade Center and the Pentagon were attacked, the president was at Camp David with his senior officials, and Mr. Wolfowitz was telling the president the Iraq and Saddam Hussein is the real problem.
It took the neoconservatives only 48 hours to prevail, change the regime in Baghdad, subjugate Iraq, a simpler objective than that of destroying the nebulous terrorist. September 19th. Those in support of eliminating Saddam Hussein meet at the Ministry of Defense, the Pentagon.
They all began asking questions about how long can we continue this policy aimed at keeping Saddam under control. And the conclusion they came to was not much longer.
An Iraqi takes part in this first Council of War. Ahmed Chalabi, sworn enemy of Saddam Hussein. Chalabi has lived in exile for years and will play a significant role in this story. But more on that later. The day after the secret meeting at the Pentagon, President Bush addresses Congress. It is a historic moment. The nation is united by patriotism. Bush names the culprits: Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
Our enemy is a radical network of terrorists, and every government that supports them.
Not a word about Iran, but he warns.
Our war on terror begins with Al-Qaeda, but it does not end there.
Tony Blair, the British Prime Minister and guest of honor, applauds. It signifies an unwavering alliance between Washington and London. The Taliban are quickly driven out of Kabul, and Al-Qaeda is dispersed. Osama bin Laden disappears. In Washington, Bush appears eager to move on to another war.
I stand by those words. Afghanistan is still just the beginning. If anybody harbors a terrorist, they're a terrorist. If they fund a terrorist, they're a terrorist. If they house terrorists, they're terrorists. I mean, I can't make it any more clearly to other nations around the world. If they develop weapons of mass destruction that will be used to terrorize nations, they will be held accountable.
The president has barely finished his speech when Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld meets with General Tommy Franks at Central Command in Tampa, Florida. Franks controls a massive area from Africa to Asia and leads the war in Afghanistan. But Rumsfeld has something else in mind: Iraq. He orders General Franks to prepare a plan of attack. Iraq, an easy target. Since its invasion of Kuwait and stinging defeat in 1991, the country has been under international administration. Despite the drubbing and the terrible sanctions that are decimating his people, Saddam has remained in power. In 1998, he even drove out UN inspectors sent to disarm him. For the neoconservatives, he is the devil.
Saddam was a dangerous man. Dangerous first to his own citizens and dangerous to the rest of the world.
Joe Wilson knows Iraq well. In 1991 in Baghdad, he was the last American diplomat to meet with Saddam Hussein.
Saddam was hemmed in. He was not a threat. He had been turned from a major regional power into a third-rate dictator.
Just over 100 days after the attacks of 9/11, America needs neoconservatives want to seize the opportunity. Richard Pearl publishes a veritable declaration of war.
The United States must strike at Saddam Hussein.
The same day, Franks visits Bush at his ranch in Texas. In front of journalists, the two men speak of the successes against the Taliban.
In Afghanistan, well, Taliban gone, the country's secure, the country's stable.
We will destroy the Al-Qaeda terrorist network inside Afghanistan. It will take as long as it takes.
Thank you all.
Thanks for all the time.
But in private, Bush confirms to Franks the order to attack Iraq. This change in priority worries the general, who on February 19, 2002, confides in Bob Graham, Florida senator and chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee.
After a briefing, which was quite upbeat, the progress that was being made, the general asked me to meet privately in his office. And the first thing he said was, we're no longer fighting a war in Afghanistan.
Call your cable company and cancel your subscription. This new groundbreaking discovery gives you access to your favorite channels and movies for free, whether you're in the United States, Canada, the United...
I was stunned by that, and I asked him, what did he mean? And he said that some of the important personnel, such as special operations units, were being moved from Afghanistan to get ready for a war in Iraq.
Bush's decision is fraught with consequences. The fight against terrorism is put on the back burner in favor of a conventional war in the most unstable region in the world. At the start of 2002, the military machine is set in motion. All that remains is to convince public opinion of the need to go to war with a country that seems far removed from the tragedy that struck America. Andrew Basevich, former Army colonel and professor of military history.
Having made that decision to go to war, the political necessity was to sell the war to the American people.
They had prepared a significant propaganda operation to sell the war at a time when the press was very receptive to whatever the administration might be saying and its efforts to defend the United States against yet another attack.
And weapons of mass destruction seemed, to people on the inside, to offer the best mechanism to complete this selling job.
WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, chemical, biological, nuclear. For months, this deadly arsenal will be at the heart of the Iraqi manipulation. The stakes in a formidable power struggle between war's supporters and its opponents.
I was listening to briefings, detailed, top-secret briefings from the CIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and other intelligence organizations. And they all believed very strongly that Saddam had multiple programs to develop weapons of mass destruction.
In reality, that harmonious unanimity does not exist. For years, American intelligence has been monitoring Iraq and has found nothing.
We spend billions, literally billions of dollars a year with what we call national technical means, which everyone knows are satellites, and they not only take images, but they have all kinds of other sensor data on that thing, okay? And guess what? Not one WMD site was found in Iraq since about 1991.
The giant of electronic espionage, the NSA, the National Security Agency, remains empty-handed. William Binney, former technical director at the NSA, was among those scrutinizing Iraq.
There was no information collected by NSA that indicated that he continued his weapons of mass destruction program, or even that he had weapons of mass destruction.
This is no surprise. Saddam Hussein's arsenal had been destroyed after the Gulf War. Before 9/11, American senior officials publicly stated otherwise.
He has not developed any significant capability with respect to weapons of mass destruction. He is unable to project conventional power against his neighbors.
We are able to keep arms from him. His military forces have not been rebuilt.
Once the dictator's fate is decided, the official tone has to change, and Washington portrays Saddam Hussein as a terrifying threat.
This is a regime that has something to hide from the civilized world. States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil.
But no terrorist state poses a greater or more immediate threat to the security of our people and the stability of the world than the regime of Saddam Hussein in Iraq.
Simply stated, there is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction.
WMDs whose existence will have to be proven. To help them, the neoconservatives turned to Ahmed Chalabi in 1992, together with other opponents of Saddam Hussein in exile. He formed the INC, the Iraqi National Congress.
All of them had a common interest in being ex-exiles, in that they wanted to take over the government and understood that the way they were going to do that was by following a U.S. Army which was dispensing with the current government and with Saddam Hussein.
Saddam.
Overlooked by Bill Clinton, Chalabi allied himself with the Democratic president's worst enemies.
The INC managed to develop clear and significant strategic relations with people among the neocons and in the Republican Party at large, and with some Democrats also, to get support for America to do something about Saddam.
In January 2001, luck finally smiled on the Iraqi exiles.
So when President Bush came to power, all those people who were advocating, supporting us, came to power with him.
After 9/11, the collusion between Iraqi exiles and neoconservatives becomes cooperation.
The American administration. So they specifically asked us to see if we can introduce them to people who can provide information on WLDs.
Chalabi complies enthusiastically. He introduces the Americans to Iraqi defectors. Endless sources of revelations about Saddam Hussein's deadly arsenal.
The people in Chalabi's group wanted to get rid of Saddam, so they were looking and searching and trying to come up with things that would help justify to us what our people wanted to hear. That is, we wanted to hear something about weapons of mass destruction so we could justify us going to war with them.
A talented manipulator, Chalabi also introduces his defectors to the press, and through their provocative headlines, the journalists lend credibility to all the allegations against Baghdad. This brainwashing machine divides Washington.
It was clear that from the very beginning that major institutions in the United States, such as the CIA and a large part of the State Department, were opposed to this. They had no confidence in us. They kept criticizing us. They kept calling us exaggerators, liars.
Despite everything, the Pentagon refuses to question the revelations made by the exiles.
The idea that Chalabi had information that he knew to be false and he presented it knowing it to be false has never been established in any of the inquiries, and there have been many official inquiries.
Hasta 90% de descuento. Varios colores para elegir. Suave y cómodo. Llévatelos hoy.
Inquiries into the activities, the intelligence activities before the war.
But the skeptics must be countered. And to give credence to the Iraqi exiles, the hawks at the Pentagon create a parallel service, the Office of Special Plans, an initiative by Paul Wolfowitz and Douglas Feith.
The Office of Special Plans, well, this was quite a monstrosity. They were set up as an alternative CIA.
The CIA gathers its information from a multitude of sources. In general, its analysts check them before submitting their conclusions to the politicians. But the Office of Special Plans short-circuits this process, a first in the history of American intelligence. In the end, Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld obtain the answers they need. George Tenet, director of the CIA, grudgingly supports the information before Congress.
At one of those hearings, the director of the CIA, George Tenet, brought with him 3 white folders where materials about the some 550 sites in Iraq where allegedly there were weapons of mass destruction. I asked Tenet, where did we get all this information? And the answer is we got it from the exiles. Who did we, the United States of America, have on the ground to see if, in fact, what was said in these exile-provided information packets was accurate? And the answer was 0. The machinery of lies runs at full throttle for months. The exiles and the Pentagon collaborate and transform mere allegations into official credo.
The collective effort by all those groups involved became a fabrication that became the policy of the United States, and it was used to justify a war.
A fruitful cooperation that is repeated in friendly nations. In Rome, a dossier from the Italian Military Secret Service, SEASMI, arrives at the American Embassy. It alludes to a secret sale of uranium to Iraq by Niger. Not to be outdone, the German Secret Service offers its support as well. It supplies the Americans with revelations made by an Iraqi defector, codenamed Curveball. He claims Baghdad is making biological weapons in its mobile laboratories.
Leadership up to date as the war to liberate Iraq and to remove the weapons of
For Bush, a crucial barrier remains to be crossed before he can go to war: Congress. In the galaxy of American power, it plays a central role. The president must ask Congress for the green light before launching the country into a military adventure.
In August and September, the drumbeats of war in Iraq started to get louder and louder, and there were indications that the president would soon be calling on Congress for an authorization of war against Iraq.
A mere formality, as Bush holds the majority. But Bob Graham will try to stop this mad race to war.
And one of the questions was, we'd like to review the national intelligence estimate on possible war with Iraq. And the answer was, there isn't a national intelligence estimate.
What Graham is asking for is the most secret document in American espionage, an estimate of what every intelligence agency knows about a particular threat.
To be told that here we're about to go to war and no national intelligence estimate has been done was astounding. And we asked that it be done.
What happened was they kept their heads way down, you know. They didn't want to do an estimate on weapons of mass destruction in Iraq because the honest answer was there aren't any.
In London, Blair comes to the aid of his friend Bush and publishes a dossier, in quotation marks, on the Iraqi weapons.
The intelligence picture they paint is one accumulated.
They can be deployed within 45 minutes, and Iraq is seeking uranium from Africa to develop an atomic bomb. But in Congress, Graham is not convinced. He presses on. He wants proof.